In January 2014, we saw a major reorganization of the two wings at Bagram and Kandahar. It was decided that based on changing conditions in Afghanistan, that the 451st Air Expeditionary Wing at Kandahar would stand down. As a result, we rolled up the guidons for the operations group, the maintenance group, the mission support group, and the rescue group. The rescue assets located at Bastion relocated to Bagram. The F-16s and C-130Js at Kandahar also moved to Bagram. And as part of the wing standing down, an air expeditionary group stood up at Kandahar in its place, retaining the remaining aircraft, but also rolling up all of the other squadrons that had previously been spread out across the wing. And this included an aircraft maintenance squadron, logistics readiness squadron, and an aerial port, air control squadron with their 2 radars, civil engineering squadron, a security forces tactical security element that was assigned to the Office of Special Investigations Detachment, bringing the group to roughly 1,000 airmen. And it was like a small wing at that point in time. We continued to execute 24/7 air operations and then all the support requirements for those aircraft and those missions going forward. One of the unique things that we saw at Kandahar during this year was the employment of a counter threat task force known as Task Force Black, which was an OSI task force that went out with a primary mission to kill and capture high-value targets involved in the local terrorist networks that were a threat to the base. These were the individuals who were acquiring, financing, and firing rockets at Kandahar at the airfield. And another unique aspect of it, based on the assets that were located at Kandahar, was as the Air Expeditionary Group Commander, I had authority on the air tasking order to launch an MQ-1 or MQ-9 along with an MC-12 each day in support of Task Force Black's counter-threat operations. This proved to be an incredibly successful integration. Task Force Black would develop intelligence and build out the networks, find and fix potential targets, and then with integration from the Zombie Joint Terminal Attack Controllers, our Expeditionary Air Support Operations Squadron, we would use the MC-12 Liberty and the MQ-9 to find, fix, target, track, and then engage enemy combatants in a very close vicinity to the airfield. This worked out in that it allowed us to go over 120 days without a single rocket attack. And we were able to leverage the capability of the remotely piloted aircraft and the MC-12 along with human intelligence to be able to do this. It was a very unique capability we possessed at Kandahar because of the aircraft that we had there. And the real cornerstone to it was the MQ-9. During this period, our operations tempo remained extremely high and our airmen performed incredibly well. Every day, we continuously manned 36 ISR combat air patrols with our MQ-1 and MQ-9 remotely piloted aircraft. Our MC-12s provided 20 lines of support every day. Because of the retrograde that was taking place as the Army was shrinking its footprint across theater, we maintained the second busiest aerial port in all of Central Command. Our air control squadron continually worked tirelessly to maintain our 2 TPSY 75 radars to keep the air picture up along with our data links. During that time, we acquired our 4th E-11 Bacon aircraft. We also fielded the 2nd MQ-9 Gorgon Stare specialized wide field of view ISR system and added a 2nd tether for that aircraft up at Bagram Airfield. During this period, in April, we supported the first ever peaceful transfer of power between presidents of Afghanistan when President Ghani took over for President Karzai. During that day, we provided critical ISR support for polling places and overhead security. During this period, we also fostered a very close working relationship with Regional Command South. RC South was headquartered at Kandahar, and at the time, the 4th Infantry Division was in charge, with Major General Paul LeCamera as the 4th ID commander and the RC South commander. I began to work closely with their staff to better educate them on our capabilities, how to better employ our weapon systems, and also build that relationship where we could support them when required and I could get the support for our airmen when needed. One of the brigades that was fielded, we worked very closely together into providing immediate on-call support when required, as our RPAs were recovering to the base with fuel remaining, and they ended up in contact or in a situation close to the base that we could quickly assist them. We did this through close working relationships between our zombie JTACs right there in the TOC, as well as the brigade and battalion commanders working with our squadron commanders. During my year there, we suffered no fatalities, which was an amazing thing and a testament to the capabilities our airmen brought. And I was incredibly proud at how well they performed and how hard they worked to support the mission day in, day out, through long weeks and months and pretty miserable working conditions from time to time. In August of 2014, I relinquished command of the 451st Air Expeditionary Group to Colonel Rudy Cherry. And while I was physically leaving Afghanistan, I certainly wasn't leaving it behind. For my next position, I would be back in the Pentagon. I would be working for the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, specifically for the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Central Asia. There, I was filling a position as the Afghanistan Country Director. Specifically, my portfolio involved the Afghan Air Force and the Special Mission Wing, and overseeing all of the air platforms assigned to those two units within Afghanistan. I closely tied in and worked with the 438th Air Expeditionary Wing, otherwise known as TAC Air, Train, Advise, Assist Command for the Air, as well as the 9th Air Expeditionary Task Force staff. During this period, I oversaw the maintenance and acquisition of many aircraft. We specifically dealt with trying to sustain the existing fleet of Mi-17 and Mi-35 aircraft, along with C-208 Caravans and C-130s. The Russian aircraft were very difficult to get parts for U.S. sanctions, greatly inhibited our ability to maintain those platforms. During this period, we brought the A-29 Super Tucano online and delivered it to the Afghan Air Force. We stood up a squadron at Moody Air Force Base, the 81st, to train Afghan pilots in the A-29, as well as our air advisors. We additionally fielded the MD-530 TAC helicopter in an effort to replace the aging Mi-35s that we're now down to single-digit numbers in the fleet. And then we prepared to bring on board the AC-208, an armed variant of the Caravan with ISR capabilities, as well as transition the Afghans out of Russian helicopters and into U.S.-made equipment, specifically the UH-60A. In this case, we were going to take the UH-60As that were coming out of the inventory, specifically the Guard and Reserve, some of our oldest Blackhawks, and then retrofit them with the newest power plants, resulting in what we affectionately call the UH-60A+. And the plan was based on a massive study conducted by MITRE and then integration with the Joint Staff J5, DSCA, SAF-IA, Air Education Training Command, the Army G3 Aviation Office, and specifically the non-standard Rotary Wing office at Huntsville to come up with this plan on how to transition the Afghans from Mi-17, Mi-35s into UH-60s, both lift variants and armed variants. The plan eventually approved by the Secretary of Defense was a 10-year, $6.5 billion plan to not only transition them into a total of 159 Black Hawk aircraft, but also build out their fleets of A-29s, AC-208s, and MD-530s to give them the Air Force that we believe they require to operate and sustain permanently for their security. During my time in policy, my last trip to Afghanistan took place with the first trip for Secretary of Defense Ashton Carter. Secretary Carter had just been confirmed, and his first stop as the Secretary of Defense was going to be to Afghanistan. And so I was sent forward as the advance team to prepare for his visit, have everything set up and ready to go. And then when he arrived, we visited Kabul, Bagram, and Kandahar before leaving theater. And in this period, as I finished my time on the staff, we continued to look at how to shrink the footprint in Afghanistan and what the eventual footprint would be. And what we were looking at very closely at the time was a security cooperation office. So something much larger than just an embassy. And the focal point of this SCO, the security cooperation office, which we were ballparking to be about 2,000 Americans would be working in that capacity, would be very focused on finishing the job of building out the Afghan Air Force and Special Mission Wing, which was going to take, as I said, approximately another 10 years to get the equipment fielded, the pilots trained, and most importantly, train their maintenance force to be able to sustain those aircraft with some semblance of contractor logistics support. And then following 2 years in OSD policy, I left and returned back to an operational wing following that. And that was the last experience I had dealing directly with or in Afghanistan. So I appreciate you taking the time to listen and for your interest. I hope that I provided some information and some introspective that you'll find useful now or sometime in the future. So thank you.